A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Random House Audio presents Star Wars: Allegiance by Timothy Zahn. Read for you by Marc Thompson. Chapter 1. The Imperial Star Destroyer Reprisal slipped silently through the blackness of space, preparing itself for action against the rebel forces threatening to tear the galaxy apart. Standing on the command walkway, his hands clasped behind him, Captain Kendall Ozzel gazed out at the planet Teardrop directly ahead, a mixture of anticipation and dark brooding swirling through him. As far as he was concerned, the entire planet was a snake pit, crawling with smugglers, third-rate pirate gangs, and other dregs of society. If he'd been in command of the Death Star, instead of that idiot Tarkin, he mused, he would have picked someplace like Teardrop, instead of Alderaan, for the weapon's first serious field test. But he hadn't been in charge. And now both Tarkin and the Death Star were gone, blown to shrapnel off Yavin 4. In a single awful moment, the Rebel Alliance had morphed from a minor nuisance to a bitter enemy. And Imperial Center had responded. Less than 3 days ago, word had come down to show no mercy to either the rebels or their sympathizers. Not that Ozzel would have shown any mercy, at any rate. Eliminating rebels and rebel sympathizers had become the best and fastest way to success in the Imperial fleet. Perhaps all the way to an admiral's rank bars.
"Status?"
he called behind him.
47 standard minutes to orbit, sir,"
the navigation officer called from the crew pits. Ozzel nodded.
"Keep a sharp watch,"
he ordered.
"No one gets off that planet."
He glowered at the faintly lit disk ahead of them.
"No one,"
he added softly.
"Luke!"
Han Solo called from the Millennium Falcon's cockpit.
"Come on, kid, move it. We're on a tight schedule here."
"They're in,"
Luke Skywalker's voice came back.
"Ramp sealed."
Han already knew that from his control board readouts, of course. If the kid stuck around, he'd have to learn not to clutter the ship's atmosphere with unnecessary chatter.
"Okay, Chewie, hit it,"
he said. Beside him, Chewbacca gave a rolling trill of acknowledgement, and the Falcon lifted smoothly off the hard-packed teardrop ground. Apparently not smoothly enough. From behind, Han heard a couple of muffled and rather indignant exclamations.
"Hey!"
someone shouted. Han rolled his eyes as he fed power to the sublight engines.
"This is absolutely the last time we take on passengers,"
he told his partner firmly. Chewbacca's reply was squarely to the point, and a shade on the disrespectful side.
"No, I mean it,"
Han insisted.
"From now on, if they don't pay, they don't fly."
From behind him came footsteps, and he glanced back as Luke dropped into the seat behind Chewbacca.
"They're all settled,"
he announced.
"Great,"
Han said sarcastically.
"Once we make hyperspace, I'll take their drink orders."
"Oh, come on,"
Luke chided him.
"Anyway, you think this bunch is stiff, you should have seen the ones who got out on the earlier transports. These are just the techs who were in charge of packing up the last few crates of equipment."
Han grimaced. Crates which were currently filling the Falcon's holds, leaving no room for paying cargo, even if he managed to find some on the way to the rendezvous. This was going to be a complete 100% charity run, like everything else he and Chewbacca had done for Luke and his new friends in the Rebel Alliance.
"Yeah, well, I've seen plenty of useless techs before,"
he muttered. He was waiting for Luke to come to the tech's defense when a splatter of laser fire ricocheted off the rear deflector.
"What the?"
he snarled, throwing the Falcon into a tight drop loop.
stealth instinctive maneuver probably saved their skins. Another burst shot through the space they'd just left, this one coming from a different direction. Han twisted the ship back around, hoping fleetingly that their passengers were still strapped in, then took a second to check the aft display. One glance at the half-dozen mismatched ships rising behind them was all he needed.
Pirates!
He snapped to the others, throwing power to the engines and angling the ship upward. Facing pirates deep inside a planet's gravity well, with no cover and no chance of quick escape to hyperspace, was about the worst situation a pilot could encounter. And even the Falcon couldn't outmaneuver this many ships forever.
Chewie, get us up and out,
he said, throwing off his straps.
Come on, Luke.
The kid was already on it, heading down the cockpit tunnel at a dead run. Han followed, rounding the corner in time to see Luke duck past the passengers crammed into the wraparound seat and head up the ladder to the upper quad laser station. Captain! One of the passengers called.
Save it!
Han shot back, grabbing the ladder and sliding down toward the lower quads. He caught himself as the gravity around him did its 90-degree shift, then dropped into the seat. It looked even worse from down here than it had from the cockpit. A second wave of pirate ships had joined the first, this group pumping laser fire all around the edges of the first group, forming a deadly cylinder of death around the Falcon's flight vector. They were trying to force their prey to stay on that line so that the first group could chase them down. Well, they were in for a surprise. Keying the quads with one hand, he snagged his headset with the other and jammed it on.
Luke!
I'm here. Any particular strategy, or do we just start with the biggest and see how fast we can blow them apart? Han frowned as he got a grip on the control yoke, an odd idea whispering at him. The way that second wave was positioned.
You go for that big lead ship,
he said.
I'm gonna try something cute.
Luke's reply was a blast of laser fire squarely into the lead pirate's bow. The other ship swerved violently in reaction. Clearly, they hadn't expected this kind of firepower from a simple light freighter. The pilot recovered quickly, though, settling the ship back into its position in the battle array. The entire lead wave moved closer together, closing ranks to get maximum protection from their overlapping shields. Han watched closely, waiting for the obvious next move, and heard the twitter from his display board as the lead ships all shifted shield power to double front, which meant they just unavoidably lowered the strength of their aft shields. Perfect.
Chewie, dip and waffle,
he ordered into his comm. The Falcon dropped suddenly in response, and for a second, the rear wave of ships was visible past the edges of the first wave's shields. Han was ready, firing a double burst past the lead wave into the flank of the biggest second wave ship, sending it into a violent swerve as its primary maneuvering system was blown to bits. And as it did, the laser fire that had been forming that part of the Falcon's entrapment ring sprayed with shattering force across the sterns of the lead wave ships. It was everything Han could have hoped for. Two of the smaller ships veered instantly and violently out of formation as their engine sections blew up. The first ricocheted a glancing blow off of one of the other pirates on its way to oblivion, while the second slammed full tilt into another. They fell away together, with Luke taking advantage of the distraction to blow one of the other lead ships into fiery dust. Then, to Han's shock and disbelief, the Falcon dropped and turned into a curving arc back toward the planet's surface.
Chewie,
he snarled.
What in the...
The Wookiee growled a warning. Frowning, Han craned his neck to look in that direction as the familiar shape of an Imperial Star Destroyer swung into view around the dark edge of the planetary disk. Han!
I see it,
Han said, his mind racing. Clearly the rebel cell on Teardrop had gotten out just in time, except that the last half a dozen members of that cell were currently sitting a couple of meters directly above him in the Falcon's lounge. If the Imperials caught them here... Then his brain caught up to him, and he understood what Chewbacca had been doing with that last maneuver.
Luke, shut down!
He ordered, slapping the switches on his own quads. The last thing he wanted was for the Imperials to do a power scan and see that the Falcon had this kind of weaponry.
Chewie, give me comm!
There was a click.
Emergency!
He called, putting desperation into his voice.
Incoming freighter Argos, requesting assistance from Teardrop Planetary Defenses.
There was no answer from the ground, of course, given the shady character of most of the planet.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?